Before we get started, courtesy of our friends at Teng Tools, you can win this 26-piece combination spanner set worth over £330. What's more, one runner-up wins this 6-piece screwdriver set worth over £50. So click the link in the description to enter before the competition closes on November 30th.
There are two questions that we get asked a lot. One is, what is a classic car? Which is a whole subject for a whole other series of videos, if anything else. The other one is, how do modern cars stand up in their old age, and will they last as long, and will you be able to work on them as well as a more traditional classic? And those are both very good questions. And we decided to put our money where our mouth is and invest in a car that is the epitome of a future classic, because it is a classic that showed the way to the future, and that is the Mark I Honda Insight. Apart from the fact this is literally the definition of a green car, because it is very strikingly so, this metallic lime green colour, which I think is the best colour for Mark I Insight, and which the logbook describes as yellow, which I think means the people at DVLA are a bit colourblind. This is, we're fairly sure, the cheapest Insight Mark I for sale in the UK at the moment, because we paid £1,600 for this. And we are fairly confident that it's also the highest mileage, because this has done 203,000 miles and a little bit more. This is also an organic farm fresh Insight, hence the material on the bonnet. I think for a 20-year-old car that's done 200,000 miles, of course, it's not bad, but it has flat dish alloy wheels. We've got an awful lot of electric corrosion bubbling the paint. Tyres are obviously in good nick themselves. It is just the rims. Classic electrolysis going on here with the aluminium door skins. And a few scuffs here, where presumably this is where this fairing for the rear wheels has been taken off and dumped on the ground a few times. One of these fairings, I'm afraid I can't remember which one, is held on with bolts rather than the thumb screws, which is obviously a bit of a bodge. And this wheel, again, more corrosion on the alloys. A little bit of fading here on the valance, but nothing that can't be put right with a little bit of elbow grease. Some of the usual bodywork scuffs and scrapes here. Very bad corrosion on the wheel, but again, nothing so bad as to threaten the beading. No electrolysis on this one. There it is, actually bubbling up just there. Hasn't gone through the paint, but not far behind. And there's a big bit there which has lifted the paint off. Off-roading scuff on the sill there. Behold the 997cc 3-cylinder engine with integrated motor assist. And again, under here it all looks like a car that's done 200,000 miles and a bit more, but generally pretty straight. There's certainly no corrosion in any of the strut tops or anything like that to worry about. This is obviously the aircon condenser. The aircon doesn't work. That's lost quite a lot of finning and is badly corroded. This is the actual radiator, which has lost a bit of its finning at the top, presumably where the water and everything gets in it. So that might need a look at. But the water pump is very, very tired. It makes all sorts of grumbly, rattly noises. And they are no longer available new as complete parts. So that'll probably have to be a specific rebuild of the pump that's on it right now. And on the inside, I mean, the most striking thing, both in general and in condition-wise, is these lime green and silver seats, which really do need a good clean, and it doesn't smell at all of a leaky car, so I think this is all just good scrub and a session with the wet vac. And of course, being a Honda, 200,000 miles is nothing to the interior. It all fits and finishes beautifully still. Welcome to the future, or at least the future as it was seen by Honda in the year 2000. This is the first time I've driven not only this Insight, of course, but any Insight. I think you sit really low in this thing. It is a small car and you sit in a very sporty driving position. You've got this tiny little steering wheel, which I think came straight off a S2000, which is a nice touch. As for this one in particular, despite it being the cheapest and the highest mileage Insight that's going, we've got about half a charge of battery on the electronic gauge, and I can see here we've got the assistance and the charge indicators flicking backwards and forwards. If I put my foot down up this hill, we get assistance. If I take my foot off, we get charge, and the battery doesn't immediately disappear the moment it's put under any load, which I think probably bodes well. There's some life in it. More generally, in terms of what Insights are like to drive, the first thing you notice is it's really, really, really tall geared, especially for something with a 1 litre engine. Of course, it's got the electrical assistance, but you feel like you're starting off in second or third, and I'm in third now, and it feels like it's trying to pull in fifth, and you can see the assistance pushing it, which obviously is there to fill the gaps. And then you've got the gear shift indicator, which very, very determined to keep you as high geared as possible, so you can just trickle along here at 50 miles an hour, that's fifth gear, ticking over at about 1700 RPM. And I come to this hill, and the assistance kicks in. It's a bit like driving sort of a later turbo diesel, really. There's a consistent torque delivery, it just sort of woof up the hill. I've only been driving this thing for about 5 minutes, and already it's becoming fun, trying to be as economical as possible, or just gaining as much charge, watching the display do its thing. It is genuinely fun to drive as well. It's so light, and it's got such precise steering, and it's so narrow, that it's fun just to chuck it about like that into a corner. It's a very Honda-y car, this, which obviously you may say is obvious because it's a Honda. But what I mean is there's a very specific and distinct way that Honda do things, and it's to do with a sort of sense of purpose and dedication to a particular goal. And it's the same way as in an S2000, which is obviously designed to be sporty and really fun to drive, and that's its aim. And the aim of this car is to be as economical and as efficient as possible. And it's got that same sense of purpose, which gives it character. So that's the introduction to our 2001 Mark I Honda Insight, and I think given the many pitfalls that you could experience when buying one of these cars with their complicated electronic drive systems, and when you're dealing with cars over 20 years old and over 200,000 miles on the clock, I think we've done very well. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what it's like to drive in the longer term and what it's like to live with.
Well, that was the plan. A couple of weeks after filming, Martin from Car Mechanics magazine collected the Insight from Jack to start work on the car. One evening, Martin and his partner were out for a drive in the Insight, but a truck driver behind them in traffic wasn't paying attention and went straight into the back of the Honda, pushing it into the car in front. Both passengers were violently shaken by the crash, and Martin's partner's pre-existing back problems meant that the only safe way to extract her from the damaged Insight was to cut the roof off. Both passengers are injured but recovering, but sadly the same can't be said for our poor little Honda. Still, we do now have the world's first convertible Honda Insight.